G'day YouTube, my name's Lance and welcome to Bundy Bear's Shed. Well, the weather report. Look at the cold of the evening is 22 and today we're going to have around 26 degrees. We've been getting a little bit of rain, just a few showers. There's a cyclone up in the Gulf, that's near the pointy bit of Australia, and then you see Northern Territory. There's a cyclone formed up there, or I think you call them a hurricane in America. Don't know what you call them in England. Bloody big storm. And anyway, it's coming across and it's going to go across Northern Territory by the looks, but what that does, that stirs up a bit of rain, and in the southern hemisphere the cyclones seem to turn clockwise as you look down on them, and if you happen to be below them you often get the moisture swirling in off the ocean. So some of the best rains we've ever had over the years have been when there's a cyclone around, and you get the rain depression that seems to come along with them anyway. So we're getting a few showers. Apparently today and tomorrow it's going to be a few more showers. So in Bundy Bear's shed here, being an old tin shed, I thought I'd better jump into the stew and get it going before we have a bit of rain. We had 18 millimetres yesterday and last night, so the dams aren't looking too bad. The one on the right of the driveway, it's looking okay. The ducks reckon it's good. So yeah, it's a nice change for us anyway to have a bit of rainy weather. But what that means now is that I spend one day every weekend on the lawnmower. So I do come home from work and try and do a little bit each afternoon, or at least get something done in the shed here if I possibly can, and that keeps the projects going. Pardon me. We didn't have a stew last week. I was away camping with the nephews, and the other afternoon I was in the shed here bugging around with this bloody Ferguson bonnet, the 135 bonnet, and I looked up and here's the nephew Dave coming in with the caravan on the back, and I thought I got rid of you a couple of days ago. But when we come home from Woodgate, they were heading out west, and he bought a second-hand caravan. They're paying the house off. They don't need new caravans, so they it's always been a bit wobbly on the back, and I'd pointed it out to him and he said, no, she's right. Yeah, and since I first pointed it out, he's been up around Northern Territory, Alice Springs with it and everywhere. And anyway, going home the other day, where the toolbox bracket was on the back there, she hit the deck and he reckons a bloody noise. So I hopped under and had a look, and it looks like a bodged up bloody job. They've got 2-inch box section, but they've used the thinnest wall stuff they could find by the looks. So anyway, he had it insured, so in Bundaberg here it's getting fixed up as an insurance job, so they can't touch it for 2 weeks. So I've got it in my paddock here. You might hear that little bit of a rumbling, that's just the doors rattling in the track. Nothing major going on there. It's just part of it with Bundy Bear's shed here. Pardon me. Saturday this weekend I put aside for putting the Chamberlain gearbox together. So Friday evening I come home from work and I come up the shed to get all my ducks in a row for filming and just get the shafts ready. And I wasn't going to show just pressing a bearing on the shafts, but I was just going to show assembling the gearbox and the way we're doing it anyway. And but yeah, I went to put a bearing on the shaft and we have a wrong bearing. On the lay shaft, there's it's held in place by a ball bearing at the back, and on the front it just has a needle roller bearing, not a tapered roller, just a parallel roller, and it's got a collar on it. Well, the part number they supplied was an NU 2305 and we need an NJ 2305. So apparently the bearings are the same size, but the NU that we were supplied was too long and it didn't have the shoulder on it. So we didn't get a chance to do that gearbox. That's put a spanner in the works there. Not to worry though. Paul that owns the chamber, he's excited. He bought an imported half par from America, from Victoria the other week, and he's got that home, so he's a bit excited about that. Now, Another problem we found recently, and it's just a problem that Bearco's is just running through at the moment, and the bearing, the throwout bearing on the 9G, C670, C6100 and all that, we got a bearing up to do Paul's tractor, and when we were looking at putting it on the carrier here, the throwout carrier, the bearing just sat straight on. And we had a look at the carrier and we thought, oh, the carrier looks okay, but we'll have a, we had another one here, so we pulled another one off and it was still loose. So I had to talk to Bearco about it, and unbeknownst to them, what's happened is they've ordered the bearings as imperial bearings, and their supplier has substituted a metric bearing. Now, normally it wouldn't matter, but the inside diameter of the bearing is 9 thou too big. So, the poor buggers, some of the stuff they get in trouble with, these companies. And so anyway, that didn't work, and on this one we've put a Sparex bearing. Now Sparex has them available. They're almost twice the cost of the Bearco bearing. So, and that's why we went Bearco originally, because of the cost. We thought, well, that's a good throw bearing, cheap. So poor old Bear, they're having a bit of a trouble with this bearing at the moment. So it'll only be a temporary thing. They'll have it fixed in no time. And but yeah, any bearings that are out there, they said it's funny, I was just talking to them again, and they said since they realised what was going on, they've sent, before that they sent quite a few of the same batch out, and people were unaware, and no complaints or anything like that. They've just popped them on and off they went. So I don't know what's happening there, but on Paul's we ended up putting the Sparex bearing. It's twice the price, but it fits, so that's all that matters really, that you get it all sorted out. I did a bit of shopping. I'm getting some parts laser cut. I've had an order in with this bloke for ages, and anyway, I went to see him the other day, and I might give Dave a bit of a rap next time. But anyway, this was already out there, and pardon me, and over East Bundaberg there's a second-hand shop, and I thought I'd drop into there and have a quick look. And what I come across was a Shear. Now, here we go. Oh, big heavy bastard. And I've been looking at one of these for ages and ages, and it's just a plate shear, and it's an 8-inch jaw here. And I had looked at the Chinese ones on eBay, and I don't know, something about it, I just didn't feel like buying one. And I often go into that, it's called that furniture shop over east, and it's in Bundaberg there, and I often drop in there for a bit of a poke around if I'm over that way. I don't get over there often at the moment, but yeah, they had this shear there for $145, and it's got all adjustable jaws and hardened jaws. It's got the hole here for dropping off a bit of round bar. Looks like it can go to about 1/2 inch. The Chinese knockoffs of these reckon you can shear a bit of 1/4 inch steel, say 2x1/4 or something like that. Whether you can, I don't know. I haven't had it bolted down yet. I'm going to tidy it up, but where they've had the bolts down the bottom where it's been bolted onto the bench, they've just cut them off with the oxy and done a bit of a rough job. So I'm thinking of taking them out to, well, look, they're probably nearly 1/2 inch now, and on my welding bench over there, it's 1.25 inch plate. So I'm thinking of drilling and tapping a couple of holes in there. Then when I want to use this, I can just drop it in, do the bolts up, and it'll be a very nice solid base, and we can go from there. I see some of the bought ones on the top here, they have a bar coming out and a piece of threaded rod and a round cap, and the idea is that when you pull this down and whatever you have in the jaw wants to flick up, this little foot there actually stops it from coming up. So that's probably something we'll look at building. I'd say that just looks like a pretty common thread there, so I think we'll put that on. I did a test run the other day, and as you pull down, yeah, it wants to go up. The jaws are shearing nicely, like there's no air gap down in there at all. So, but yeah, that's just going to be a little project I'll probably knock up. If it's a bit wet today, yeah, I was planning on going up into my little machine shop and having a play. I love getting up there, but I just I take on that much bloody shit to do, and then yeah, I struggle getting through it all. The other day on the John Deere 1640, when I put it together and did the dams and all that, like that's a cracker tractor, that thing. But it's locked in four-wheel drive, but I knew on the four-wheel drive solenoid underneath, it's electrically operated, and if you have no power going into the solenoid, the default setting is lock it in four-wheel drive for safety. So I knew that the terminal on the solenoid was broken off, so I come home from work and I pulled the solenoid off, I scratched around it and I've put a wire there for earth, and I've got continuity of the circuit there now, but it's still not coming out of four-wheel drive. So it looks like it's had a bit of a hit sometimes, so I don't know whether the valve is bent a little bit or something like that. So I've ordered a gauge and a fitting to go up into the housing. All this stuff I had, and I went and sold it all at the workshop. But anyway, that's life, eh? That's the choices you make. And so I fixed all that. It's still stuck in four-wheel drive, so we'll put a gauge in, and the idea of putting a gauge in is to know if that tap's actually opening up to put oil into your clutch pack, or if it's your clutch pack. I didn't renew the clutch pack when I did the tractor. I had no reason to believe I had to. I just give it a good clean up and put new O-rings on where it slid on the shaft, and away we went. So by putting a gauge on the four-wheel drive, that'll tell us if that solenoid's working. So I've just got to get a fitting in that, and I've ordered a little fitting on eBay. So I'd like to sort that bit out, just a quick little job. And a while ago, you remember I got that little TE20, the nice patinaed little grey Fergie, and the tractor I got rid of for that was an old seized Farmall 100 high crop and high clearance. So anyway, when the bloke was picking it up, I wasn't selling the weight off it or the carby or that, so I popped the weight out off in the front, on the lawn out in the front of the shed here. So last time I mowed around it, and this time I thought I'm not mowing around that bloody thing again. So I spent Saturday doing a bit of a fiddle on the Farmall 100 high clearance, the good one here, and the wheels were too wide to fitting my trailer that I take my tractors to shows with, and so I actually had to swap the wheels from left to right and then put that weight on. But I'd noticed when I took it for a drive around the paddock with the grandkids, I'd get halfway around and it'd run out of juice all the time. I'd have to stop and let it fuel up, then off we'd go again. So I didn't sell the carby or anything like that with that tractor. He just wanted it for parts. So I did the carby up, I put it on the Farmall 100, and look, it runs like a beauty. I've got the wheels in narrow now. That weight that goes on the right hand wheel, because it's an offset tractor, I've got that bolted on, and I took it for a lap, and boy, that gearbox is noisy. In reverse, I think there's something wrong really, but I haven't checked the oil yet. But look, it starts and runs beautifully. I've cleaned all the air cleaner, but I haven't put the oil bath air cleaner back on because I haven't got the right hose to go onto the carby yet. But well, I'll give it a quick tune up with that, and so the Farmall runs nicely. But yeah, Saturday morning was lugging 36-inch wheels from one side to the other, and just cleaning up, buffing up where they go on, so there wasn't any paint in the surface area and things like that. So I've got the Farmall 100, so I can just jump on it and drive it now, and I haven't got to worry about running out of fuel. But there's a few little jobs to do on it, and if we do a final drive or something like that, I've actually brought home a final drive gasket and seal kit for it, so I might run through doing that. I reckon that'd just make a good video. It's a simple job and shouldn't be too bad. The 135 6-speed, this is the bonnet. I'll just drop this. Oh. not on my toe. I've got the 135 6-speed bonnet sitting here, and I've been working on that. And it came from Quality Tractor Parts, and I imported it from Quality Tractor Parts, and then I had to fly it in, so it owes me quite a few dollars. And I wanted to see what they were like before I sold them to my customers, and there's not a chance we're selling these. I'll run around, I'll go handheld shortly, and I'll show you what I'm doing to get this thing to fit properly and get it to go nicely. There's little things, I don't know if you can see, I've got a little Nico mark down here, and the radius along the top edge here comes along beautifully, and then when they get here it's a real sharp edge. So instead of the profile of the corner being the same, it goes really sharp around here. So I'm going to have to get in behind there, panel beat this back and re-radius the edge. Now I just can't re-radius it because there's not enough metal there, so I've got to actually shrink the metal back in to do that. Another problem I had that's not a problem with the bonnet is when I put it on for a test fit, it was rubbing hard against the muffler, and I was thinking, God bloody thing, what's going on there? And I've set up a little thing that I can show you, and what actually happens is not the bonnet's fault. On the back of my battery box, you have the back of the battery box where the bonnet bolts on, and I didn't notice before, but it's become apparent now that on the left hand side where the exhaust is, where the bonnet bolts on here on the left hand side though, it's had a knock sometime and it's bent that bracket out, and so that actually sits the side of the bonnet out probably half an inch further than it should go. So I can fix that. I'll make a little jig and I'll pull that straight. It's already painted, I don't want to pull the whole lot off, but I'm pretty sure I can clamp a couple of bits of steel onto it and I can work that forward without making too much of a mess of things. I think it'll come up okay, but the bonnet here, I'll take you for a bit of a walk around. I've got a few things marked I'd like to show you, and it's going to take me ages. Look, I'm not a bad mechanic, but I'm a pretty shit panel beater to tell you the truth. And where other people are just, look at this, go tick, tick, bang, 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 well, it's major for me. I'm not a good panel beater. So I'll go handheld for a minute, and I'll zoom you in on the bonnet, and I'll show you the troubles I'm having with it, and some of the things I need to fix before I can get it on. So the 135, I've got my bandsaw going, I've got the blade on, I've got it all ready, I've done test cuts, it's running good. So now I can actually cut the ball ends off my arms and weld the new ends on, because I'm putting Cat 2 ends on it, and I can weld them on. When I do that, who knows, just depends on my workload and what we get done. But I would like to get the bonnet ready for paint. I can't paint in this weather, but I would like to get the bonnet ready for paint over the next couple of weeks, and get the bonnet on sitting nice, and then I can get all my headlights on and things like that. So I'll go handheld for the moment. I'll show you the bonnet. I'll just show you the farm all quickly what we did, and I've got the post on the drill with the VFD sitting there. I've done nothing more than sit it there. I want to move the whole show out so I got better access around it before we start mucking with wiring and things like that. So look, stay with us. I'll go handheld and we'll show you what we're up to with this bonnet. Okay, this is the back of the bonnet through here, and you can see like that radius there is quite nice. It's a bit wonky there, but I can sort that out. But when we come here, it just goes to a sharp corner, just in around there. So I've got to deal with that. I'll try and stay out of the shadow if I can somehow. Then when we come along, the bonnet, when you look down the side of the bonnet, it sticks out, but all of a sudden it comes real flat here. So I've got that mark because it dings in quite quickly. So whether I can pop that out a little bit there and make it a bit better fit, we'll see. Now, this should be a nice clean, through here it should be a nice clean line. And where they've spot welded it, I think, that line's looking shitty. So we're going to get a 0.5 millimetre disc or a 1 millimetre disc if we can, and we're going to run a line down there and try and straighten that up. And we've got some divots here where the weld was. Now the original bonnets had a bit of that, so no big deal. Now with that side bolted on, you can see the gap there. So what happens is when they fold these sides here, there's a bubble on each end. So you've actually got to rework that. If I can, yeah, you can see a gap there. It's about 2 millimetres. We have to rework that. And so we rework this side here. Then as we come down, we're touching bolted up at the top here. But then as we come down the bottom there, you can see that little blob just there. Well, that has to come out so that this panel, so this side panel here can sit nice and hard against the side panel there. And this bottom panel, when we bring it back, we bolt this piece in here, we end up with a big gap down the bottom there. So I've got to work with that yet. And on the other side, some of these I just had to tap them like that there. That top one, you can see how it's the profile sticks out there. It doesn't show up much on camera, but look, it's as simple as just coming in and fixing that profile, so that looks better. On the front, once again, and I've already had a go at this, we have a nice profile through here. It's a little bit sharp up there, and then we come back here. That'll be good to see, wouldn't it? And we have a sharp edge there. I've already spent a few hours. The grey bits I've already spent time on, and I've sanded back and I've fiddled around just to try and get them to work in. Now, when we come around to the corner there, that's where you can see a low spot and a high spot. So it comes along and it sits out, say 3 mil along here, and then it sits in under that edge there. So we've got to have a look at that, see how we go there. Now on the side here, this is the side I fixed. And so you can just see there's no gap there, and I've got this all nice and snug, all in down here. And you can see where I've taken the paint off and I've reshaped this corner here all the way down to the bottom there. And look, for me that's acceptable. That little gap there is still a little bit big, but look, that's acceptable to me. I'm happy with that. Once again, we've got this seam to fix up, and down the side, that's where it was rubbing on the muffler, but look, I've worked out since that's not a problem from the bonnet. Now if I bring this top cover up, now this is the battery cover. In Australia we have a hole there, and I have a spare one that I can work with, but when I bring the camera down here, where can I get that line worked out? There we go. And bring that down. See how that's kicked up here? So I've got to reprofile this panel a little bit. And if you look in here, you've got a high edge coming in through here. So yeah, there's a little bit of work with that yet. But down this side it's quite prominent. When you push down hard, you have a high spot here, but then when you come round the back here, you have a low spot in here. So Lance has got a bit of work to do there. So look, that's an item that I wanted to try. My bonnets were pretty crappy, and I thought I'd just get one and do one up. And what I actually thought is I could buy a new one, get it painted, pop it on, and it'll save me a lot of work. But you know what thought, eh? Anyway, I'll go and show you the other problem that's on the tractor. Okay, this is under the dash of the tractor, and I've got a little bit of angle that I'm using as a square, and look, it is pretty true as a square, and when I run it on this side and sit it against the outer edge and try and get in the back there, it is true. But then when I bring it in here, whoop, you can see there's a little bit of a bend there that I hadn't noticed. And so if we bring the square, I'm just trying to get a place that I can show you. I bring the square in at the top here. You can see the panel comes out away from it. You can't really, but it sure does. And there's a bend just there where the panel goes back. So it's a little bit hard to come in and, but yeah, in this light you can just see the bend in through here. So it's obvious you had a hit here, and when we try and bring this piece of metal along, you can see it sits out further than it should. So those nuts should be touching that piece of angle iron. So we're probably, where are we? We're probably 5 millimetres or more out here. So that brings the side out, which makes it where it buggers up on the muffler. So apart from that, I haven't done anything on it. Just yeah, look, just doing the bonnet. I'll take you for a walk around the farm hall. Okay, this is the old farm hall, and on the right hand wheel, you can't see in there where I've got it parked, there's a big heavy counterweight, and it's because the tractor's offset, you sit to the side, so they put extra weight out here. So it starts and runs quite well, but round the back here, that's the carby that I did up. I just did that of an evening in the shed, and look, it starts and runs beautifully with that on. The other bracket you can see there, that's a Steiner alternator kit that I'm trialling just to see how it goes. I think it should be good. And there's things like getting rid of the battery box, and oh, it's an old roughie, but look, it does start and run nicely. So yeah, something we'll work on anyway. And I really only bought it. I knew it needed a few things on it, so I bought it to do a few videos on final drives, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have to re-race the gearbox, but until we get the Fergies done, that's just not going to happen. Well, here we go. Here's something that's happened this weekend, and we've got the variable frequency drive hooked up to the big old Alfred Herbert mill, and it rattles a bit, but if you have a look, there's a little rattle up in the chain there, up in the, where it goes up into the motor. It's got a tiny, it's just a spline. See, the spline goes in and out of the gearbox. Or it goes in and out of, it's a hollow armature on the motor. So this 4 spline here just slides up in it, and it's a little bit noisy, but I noticed that the drill arbor is a bit dicky, so we'll just run him up. So it's working well. We can slow him up. Sounds a little noisy. This bearing might be a little noisy. It's a double roller, a double ball in there. But I think the major worry at the moment is just there seems to be a little bit of run out here. This is only a Chinese chuck and an arbor, so I might take this out and I'll take it up to the shed and up to my machine shop and just check out how true it is. that looks okay, like it feels okay. Yeah, so that's feeling okay. I think it's just a bit of run out. I'll slow him right down. You can see the run out there. So we'll find out where that is. We can retune this up yet. And on the main dial up here, that's on 950, and then we have forward reverse here. The forward reverse still works, all the speed still works, and it's exactly as it was on 50 Hertz, but we can actually drop it down a bit if we need to. So that's the job done. I'm thinking of moving the compressor up here further. I've only got the one 3-phase point here, so I have to have these two together. So I'm thinking of running the compressor up to the left and popping the drill straight in behind there. So we'll see how we go. But yeah, a bit of a messy workplace, but that's neither here nor there. Another little job done. There we go.